Do you crave the adrenaline rush of action movies and thrillers? Ever wondered whether the firepower you see on screen is real steel or just prop magic? If so, stick around. You're in the right place. This channel was made for you.
Hello and welcome to Hollywood Guns. I'm your host Wilson. Whether you're into action flicks, classic thrillers, or unforgettable TV shows, this is the place where movie magic meets real-world firearms.
A few weeks back, we deep dived into the Mac-10, the little brother carried by Wesley Snipes in Blade, and tonight we cranked the selector switch all the way up to 11 for the main event. This SMG has sprayed its way through so many films that choosing one signature appearance is impossible, so I'm distilling its legendary resume down into 5 unforgettable showcases, judged by 3 unbreakable rules of Hollywood Guns. 1. It must be an awesome movie. 2. We want to see some legendary gunplay. And 3. Most importantly, when I say the gun, and you immediately picture a movie, it makes the list. So, prepare for oversized suppressors, oddball optics, car chases, hostage rescues, explosions, an eye patch and even a hovercraft, all followed by an avalanche of hot lead. Strap in and hold on tight. This is the top 5 on-screen appearances of the Ingram Mac-10. Once again, I'm on location at the Firearms Reference Collection in Scottsdale, Arizona, home to some of the rarest and most iconic NFA weapons in the country. These guys have supported Hollywood Guns from day one, giving me access to guns that most civilians could only dream of handling. So please check them out in person or follow them on their socials and let them know that you appreciate the part they play in bringing these videos to life. Background and history of the firearm. The Mac-10, officially the Military Armament Corporation M10, is a compact machine pistol or submachine gun developed in 1964 by engineer Gordon B. Ingram in Marietta, Georgia, coincidentally the first town I lived in when I moved to the USA. Built primarily from steel stampings, it utilizes a telescoping bolt and an open bolt straight blowback action, mechanisms that allow a high cyclic rate of fire, about 1,000 rounds per minute in 45 ACP. Where the Mac-10 truly stood out was in sound suppression. Partnering with OSS veteran Mitchell Werbel III, Ingram introduced a 2-stage psionic suppressor, purposely built for the subsonic 45 ACP round. This gave the Mac-10 a distinctive look and an ear-catching performance, allowing suppressed shots to be barely louder than the bolt cycling. When Mac went bankrupt, a new company, RPB Industries, acquired a large number of incomplete receivers and began producing both submachine guns and open-bolt semi-automatic versions. Some firearms even had double stamps, Mac on one side, RPB on the other. But in the early 1980s, the ATF cracked down on open-bolt semi-autos, labeling them too easy to convert to full auto. This forced manufacturers to adopt closed-bolt designs. One of RPB's former employees, Wayne Daniel, purchased their remaining inventory and founded SWD, Sylvia and Wayne Daniel. SWD developed improved versions of the Mac-style guns, including the M11/9 and a compact semi-auto only model called the M12, often branded Cobra, a marketing name used by SWD. These versions featured closed bolts and were sold in various calibers, with some export-only models chambered in non-military calibers to comply with international restrictions. Despite its innovative design, the Mac-10 had mixed results in military testing, often criticized for its poor accuracy and clumsy ergonomics. One critically unfavorably said it was only suitable for combat in a phone booth. Despite this, as you can see on the screen, the Mac-10 enjoyed pretty widespread adoption around the globe, including use by US Special Forces in the Vietnam War and invasion of Grenada, and the UK SAS, who used them during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. We'll get to that loose connection with the SAS in just a couple of minutes as we begin the countdown. Welcome to the intermission. You probably know the drill. I got to do some housekeeping because the movie clips that I show in my videos don't allow me to earn traditional YouTube ad revenue as the copywriters take that revenue. So that's where the sponsors of the channel really come in. They keep this armory stocked and the lights on and allow me to keep making videos and bring them to you. So take a look at some of these other movie guns whilst I tell you about them. First one, thanks to Sonoran Desert Institute. If you've ever wanted to take your passion for firearms to the next level, whether that's gunsmithing, shooting sports management, or learning about commercial drone operations, SDI has flexible online programs that can help. Use the link in the pinned comment for more information. And also, my own merchandise. If you like this content and want to support the channel further, you can purchase things like this t-shirt or this ball cap from the YouTube store, or find it via hollywoodguns.com as well. Talking of t-shirts, I'd like to thank Guns International, the absolute best online location to track down regular, rare and collectible firearms. You remember this Model 645 from Miami Vice. And Guns International allows you to do that without bidding wars or middlemen. You can browse their listings, compare pricings, and pick up something maybe a bit like this Cobra Colt Series 70 Gold Cup National Match through them. Kicking off the list at number 5 is the first on-screen appearance of the Mac-10 in 1974 with McHugh. And the Duke gave us a great demonstration of the Mac's capabilities with its psionic suppressor, first shooting it indoors at the range and then using it to take out his pursuers on a beautifully cinematic scene at Moclips Beach in Washington State. I also put it on the list for another reason. I've watched the demonstration scene over and over, and I'm convinced from the recoil and shot pattern on the trash can full of water that this scene is actually shot with a live-firing weapon.
The Ingram.
Ingram, huh?
9mm.
6-7 pounds?
6.25. Silencer makes a nice handle.
Lon, this can here is filled with water. Go on, squeeze off a burst.
Why not?
How about that? Those 32 slugs came out in a second and a half.
As you know, I reserved the 4th place for a British production, and this week I have a two-way tie-up. First up is the almost obligatory James Bond entry, and second, to prove I can get away from being typecast in this spot, a movie that I've already featured on the channel in the Uzi episode. So check that one out if you haven't seen it yet. Die Another Day is the 20th installment in the James Bond series and marks the final appearance of Pierce Brosnan as 007. The film opens with Bond captured during a covert mission in North Korea and is imprisoned for over a year. After his release through a prisoner exchange, Bond goes rogue to undercover a traitor and track down a mysterious villain whose space-based weapon threatens global security. During the film's explosive opening sequence, Bond tries to escape the North Korean military camp by hijacking a hovercraft and firing a captured Mac-10 at his pursuers.
Put your head!
My other number 4 pick is Who Dares Wins, titled in the US as The Final Option. This is a British political thriller inspired by the real-life 1980 Iranian embassy siege in London. The film follows SAS Captain Peter Skellern, played by the late Lewis Collins, who goes undercover to infiltrate a radical terrorist group planning a violent hostage takeover. The Mac-10 is used during the final assault on the terrorist-occupied ambassador's residence. The terrorists are shown wielding a variety of submachine guns during a tense standoff and the climactic shootout with SAS operatives, who storm the building in a fast, coordinated breach, some of which echoes the real-world tactics we saw in Operation Nimrod that just celebrated its 45th anniversary. Coming in at number 3 is a trilogy that launched a filmmaker's career and elevated the Mac-10 and its little brother to cult status. Robert Rodriguez' El Mariachi began as a $7,000 budget indie film, shot in Mexico with no permits, a borrowed 16mm camera and a cast of locals. The production was so stripped for cash that the Mac-10 featured in the film wasn't even blank fire adapted. It was a live firearm handled with extreme care and clever editing. If you listen closely, you can hear the difference in the sound design. The report has a slightly deeper thud that you only hear in this movie and earlier in McHugh. The film's raw energy caught Hollywood's attention, leading to a big budget remake, Desperado. In that film, which I've also featured on the channel, the Mac-10 returned in force, now with multiple screen-ready variants equipped with the psionic suppressors, most notably used during the legendary bar shootout with Antonio Banderas. And in the trilogy's explosive finale, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, the Mac-11 variant makes a stylish appearance in the hands of Johnny Depp's eccentric CIA agent. At number 2, we have a movie that probably should have been number 1, and you'll see why in a minute, but I wasn't callous enough to break any hearts on the channel. True Lies is not just a cult favourite, it's the biggest box office hit in this countdown. Directed by James Cameron and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger at the height of his power, it delivers on all fronts. First, let's check rule number 1. Epic movie? Absolutely. Rule number 2, legendary gunplay. You bet. Arnie doesn't just dual-wield Mac-10s, he crosses his arms to brace them against each other, shortening his reach and actually making them more controllable as he lets loose in a hail of gunfire. In one of the movie's most over-the-top moments, he even uses one of the Macs to ignite a gasoline pump, turning it into a makeshift flamethrower that sets off an explosive chain reaction, culminating in a final bazooka shot. That sequence alone is enough to earn it a top spot. But what about rule 3? When you think of a gun, do you instantly picture the scene? Well, maybe not for the reasons the armor intended. What truly burned the Mac-10 into pop culture memory wasn't Arnie, it was Jamie Lee Curtis. In a scene that walks the line between action and slapstick, her character fires the Mac-10 uncontrollably, drops it, and then it bounces down a flight of stairs, the trigger somehow depressed, mowing down an entire squad of terrorists on its own. It's ridiculous, impossible, and utterly unforgettable. Whether you admire the stunt work or laugh out loud, that moment cemented the Mac-10's place in one of the most chaotic and iconic action scenes of the 90s. Before we get to the number 1 spot, here's a quick challenge for you. On screen right now, you can see the full list of every movie and TV appearance made by the Mac-10, painstakingly compiled by the team of movie gun sleuths at IMFDB. Out of all the top 5 episodes I've done so far, this one was actually the toughest to distill down to just, well, almost 5. There are so many awesome films with unforgettable moments fueled by this iconic bullet hose, it almost feels criminal to leave some of them out. And normally this is the part where I rattle off a few runner-ups, but not this time. Instead, let's test your movie gun memory. For bragging rights, drop the movie titles of these 4 honorable mentions in the comments. And if you think I missed a better one, make your case.
You know, once a Texas Ranger kicked my father's teeth out.
Afraid you'd miss me.
Don't worry, you won't.
And now we've arrived at the number 1 spot. Sometimes a legacy isn't forged by how many rounds it fires, but by how deeply it etches itself into pop cultural memory. And John Carpenter's neo-noir masterpiece proves this. In this movie, the Mac-10 doesn't rack up a body count like Arnie does, or blaze through an outrageous set piece like in Desperado. Snake Plissken squeezes just a few full auto bursts, and the gun's standout scene is Isaac Hayes methodically plinking at the president who's trussed to a brick wall. Yet when I asked you, the Hollywood Guns audience, to name a Mac-10 movie, roughly 3/4 of the comments stated this one. That alone crushes rule number 3. Say the gun and you instantly picture the film. Carpenter's post-apocalyptic Manhattan is a grungy fever dream of burned-out cars and crumbling skyscrapers, shot in a moody widescreen that makes every silhouette iconic. Kurt Russell gives us an all-new breed of action hero, taciturn, one-eyed, cool like a samurai. And the Mac-10, with its absurd hunting stock, bolted to its suppressed barrel, becomes an extension of his attitude. Compact, lethal, and just a touch impractical. Rewatch it today, and sure, some of the choreography feels wooden, but the vibe is untouchable. Blockbuster box office? Not quite. Wall-to-wall gunplay? Not really. But 40 plus years on, mention the Mac-10, and audiences still picture Snake slinking through the ruins with a scope suppressor that makes zero ballistic sense, yet looks unforgettable. That intangible spark is why the Mac-10's ultimate on-screen appearance belongs to Escape from New York.
Call me Snake.
Some of them have cars. They took old junkers that were left behind, converted them to steam. We think they may also have a gasoline source in there. And power. Greenhouses, rigged up generators. Some areas have streetlights. The crazies, they live in the subways. Complete control of the underground. They're night raiders.
Hey, you're Snake Plissken, ain't you? What do you want? I thought you were dead. Brain! I brought somebody to see you. Harold Hellman.
Snake?
Harold?
How you been, Harold? It's been a long time.
Get me the diagram.
Don't kill Plissken. We need him.
Get moving, Brain.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. The top 5 on-screen appearances of the Ingram Mac-10 in movie and TV history. If I missed your favourite, please drop it in the comments below, because I read all of them and your feedback helps shape future episodes. Once again, a big thanks to Bear Arms for supplying the Mac-10, Sonoran Desert Institute and Guns International for sponsoring the video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming episodes. Next week, I have another episode coming that folks have been waiting a long time for. And here's a teaser.
Yo, homie. That my briefcase?